Hey, it's Frank here with 4D Honeybee. It is July 6th, or sorry, it's July 8th now, and it is mission extraction time. So hive number 1 here has been doing gangbusters, and so has hive number 3. You can see they've both got the 2 honey supers on. The top supers are the ones that should be mostly filled out and should be mostly capped. And if they are capped, I'm going to go ahead and harvest some honey today, because I'm going to harvest the honey, return the empty frames here, and I'm sure they'll go like mad to refill those empty frames, because I leave the wax on, so it doesn't take them but a couple of days to clean up the wax, get rid of the mess that I've made, and start loading it up with honey again. So that's the plan. I've got a box on standby here to remove the frames, and one thing that I find really handy is a little brush. Like I'll push as many of the bees off back into the box as I can, but then I'll end up having to brush a few off. The goal to be to try to get them into that box with as few bees as possible, so that I don't take any home. So let's see. Again, I don't know for sure that this is all capped off, but it should be. So it'll be a bit of a reveal here to figure out if these bees have been as productive as I think they have been. So let's see. Make sure I got my hive tool and smoker handy. Although I hope I don't have to smoke them much, because I'm not going deep into the hive. But these bees have been pretty good. They haven't been all that nasty, but still, you're taking their honey. So that can't be a pleasant feeling for them. You can hear that there's a ton of bees up top here, which doesn't surprise me at all. Like I say, this hive has done so well that we're going to see a lot of bees in here. This is the hive that I split 2 weeks ago, and it has an excluder on, so there shouldn't be a queen up here, but I still like to have a look just in case. Okay, so I'll give you a little look inside. You see there's a decent amount of bees in there. They're pretty quiet so far, so hopefully they'll stay that way. Let's see how she goes. So this hive is going on their 2nd summer with me. They made me about 30 pounds of honey last year. So hopefully, I mean, in this top box, I've gone with only 9 frames. It's a 10 frame box, but I go with 9 frames so that they'll build them out wider. Oh my goodness, it is just dripping with honey. Look at this. Look at the honey just dripping off it. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Well, here's hoping it's all capped, because I want to take some home. Let's just get this set up nicely here. Wow, it is just dripping with honey, which doesn't surprise me too much. Alright, so quick look down, and you see how they have built them nice and wide. Look at how wide these frames are. Look at how wide they're built out with wax. And again, the reason why I did that, although I didn't do a great job of the spacing, the reason why I did that is just to make it more productive. More honey on each frame means less frames to produce, or less production to go through with each frame to get it out. So I'm going to try and take out one of the 2nd frames here, because the one at the end is quite squished against the side. You can see the bees just sitting there, and they don't look like they've got much room to work with, so I don't want to squish too many of them. Like, they're so docile. Look at how calm they are right now. I'm not going to smoke them at all yet, but I have no doubt I will have to. Incredibly beautifully capped frame of honey. Oh my goodness, look at that. That is just going to be liquid gold. My goodness, so we're definitely taking this one. I know there's some kind of a board that you can put on as an inner lid that kind of forces bees away from from the supers. I have tried an escape mechanism, but it didn't work. I guess it's called a rhombus, that type of thing. So it didn't work, and I ended up with just more work to do on my part. So unfortunately, it's like I'm doing it old school here, just shaking them and pushing them off, but that's the best that I know how right now. So, okay, there's one frame gone. Let's see, and you know what? This whole box is coming home with me. This whole box is absolutely full of capped liquid gold, and I'm looking forward to taking it. So, I'm not going to have you see every frame I pull out. I'll have you see the first few, just so the video doesn't get too long, because this is going to be a full extraction video where I'll show you how I do it at home and such, but my goodness, look at this. I mean, the good thing is, because it's all capped, there's not that many bees up here. So shaking mostly gets them off. The other thing is that the frame, or the hive is so high, you don't really get a good leverage on the shake. So it's challenging, just like always, but we'll find a way to get it done. Harm as few bees as possible. Have as few stings as possible. Whoa, jeepers. This brush, I mean, I kind of laughed at someone telling me to spend $5 on a brush because it had soft bristles, but I did end up using it a lot, especially for this purpose. Really only for this purpose. But I do recommend you use one, or have one in your toolkit. All this stuff does cost a lot. I mean, it costs money to keep bees. There's no doubt about it. But you know, if you want the honey or if you want the bees, whatever your reasons are, the investment is usually worth it, I find. It's also a gradual investment you can make over the part of a few years. This is year 3 for me, and I find that I'm spending more now than I ever did before. So I'm going to just pause the camera now, because no need for you to see every one of these frames coming out, but I'll probably end up showing you the final product. In this super, there should be a good 20 to 30 pounds of honey. So that's what we're going to extract today, early July. I'll definitely get a second full extraction in of probably 2 boxes. So this hive alone should give me, between 75 and 100 pounds of honey, which just makes me happy. Talk to you in a bit. Okay, so for the first box, I ended up taking 6 frames. I left 3 behind because, as you can just see there in the middle, those 3 frames are not quite 100% drawn out. So there's no reason for me to take them now. So I am going to fill in the rest of the box with empty frames. And I may end up putting, I don't think there's room for it now, but I may end up needing to start off with 10 frames in the box, just to make sure they don't build out burr comb. A piece of advice that was given to me that sounded pretty smart was to start off with 10 frames, and once they start building out, reduce it to 9 frames, so that they don't have too much space to build out, start building up crazy comb. And I can see some crazy comb in the box below, and that's a 9 frame box too. So we'll see how 6 frames go in right now, and then I will take this box off and swap it for the lower box, because the lower box is pretty drawn out. So it probably has a lot of capped honey as well, but I won't be doing anything with that yet. I'm going to go to my next hive, my nasty hive, and see how they're doing. So it looks like I probably can fit 10 frames in this hive, so that's what I'm going to do. It's 10 frames in this box to start off, and then we can adjust it as they start building it out. Okay, so now I'm going to switch out this box with the box below, and I won't extract anything more from this box. I'll just let them start to build here on their way. Let them build this box out on the way to this box, okay? Okay, so extracting frames from hive number 2 here, and I actually have to reposition the camera, so excuse me for a bit. I got 6 frames out of my previous hive. I hope to get at least a few out of this one. This one was a little further behind the previous hive, but it's still going like gangbusters. Now, the thing about this one though is that this hive has been nasty, so in the next couple of times I inspect it, I will decide if I need to do something about that. I need to start considering replacing the queen. So this should be a good sign of that, because extracting honey is not that big of a disturbance to them. I mean, it does bother them, but you're not cracking the brood box, you're not getting to the queen, so it should be a relatively peaceful exercise, and we'll see how it ends up. Lots of bees in the lid as expected. You see they get flying right away, which I think is a sign. It's a sign that we're on the offensive / defensive right away. We'll see. Again, gotta try to adjust my attitude for this hive as well, and not, you know, not doom myself into it being a bad experience, because then it will be. So try and stay positive. Hope they've got some honey to extract here. Try and keep it simple and relatively painless for the bees, and we'll see how she goes. We've got a lot of honey up here. Yeah, when you look at the first look here, see they've built right up to the box. And the honey's just dripping off that box. I know you're not supposed to have burr comb on your box, but I'm sorry, that's a beautiful sight. Okay, so let's get this lid off. And start looking at frames. Again, it's 9 frames that I've put up here, and it looks like they've drawn them out really nicely. First thoughts, first observations is that there's a lot of capped honey up here. So I'm going to start pulling out frames. I'll just put you on pause. Maybe I'll show you the first frame. That's what I'll do. I do need to drive them down into the box, so I'm going to smoke the top bees a little bit. Hope to get them going in the right direction. This frame is a good one to pull out to start. Okay, let's see what we got here. Nice and slow. You can see it's a frame of 95% capped honey. So we're going to put this one on the side, because believe it or not, 95% might not be good enough. There's no reason in my mind to put any syrup as opposed to honey into the system, you know. Okay, so let's get that set up out there. Let's just look for frames that are 100% capped, okay? You can afford to be picky. It's the 6th of July. I've never come close to having an extraction this early. So I can almost look at this as a bonus. And that's what I'm looking for, 100% capped on both sides. So that frame we will take. So I can just mostly brush these bees back into the box instead of shaking them. The only reason why I'm brushing them is just, it does seem to get fewer bees into the air. But I think there's going to be a lot of bees in the air with this hive anyway. Okay, so that's frame number 1. I think I won't take more than 6 frames from here, no matter what. Just because 6 was a good number with the other box. It was manageable. It was heavy but movable. And again, I'm thinking 6 frames, probably 3 pounds of honey per frame maybe. So 18 pounds per box in early July is fantastic. So I won't bug you with all the details on this. I will just let you know how many frames we got. Okay, so here is how I take care of uncapping and getting all this gorgeous honey out. I just bring it out like this, and I decap it using this wonderful tool. So this is a decapping roller, and you can see pretty much how it works is probably self-explanatory. You just go ahead and roll it on the face of the frames, and you puncture all the cells. I prefer this to a decapping knife because sometimes you can't cut very evenly with the knife. It actually takes quite a bit of skill to do it. And sometimes if the frames aren't drawn out wide enough, you can't cap it. And you can't control the depth to which you cut with a decapping knife. One of those hot knives. With this, you don't have to worry about it. You just roll it and you puncture all the cells. You get much less in the way of wax ending up in your honey and wax that you have to render. Now if you want to render wax, that's fine. I'm not crazy on doing it. I will do it. Some of this wax does end up in the honey. The cappings do fall off. But it's also a lot easier for the bees to rebuild out this comb, because you're not actually losing any comb. You see, you're just puncturing it, right? And when you do it well and you puncture the whole thing, all the honey comes out. And just in the matter of a few seconds, you've got it done. So from there, it goes into my spinner. I've just got a little 2-frame spinner here. It's nothing all that expensive. Bought it off eBay for a couple $100. Spin 2 frames at a time in here. You put them in opposite sides so that it's balanced. And you give them a spin, and you'll see what happens when I spin them in a minute. And you remember I mentioned that I like to only put 9 frames in my 10-frame super. And this is exactly why. When you go with only 9 frames, when they don't make a mess of it, they build out the comb much wider. See, that's like a full ½ inch beyond the side of the frame here. So you're getting more honey. Now on this side, they just built it sort of level with the frame, which is fine. They don't always build it out. But if you look at how much extra honey this is in this frame, it might be 1/3 more that they put in every frame, where they've drawn it out much wider. So that's why I like to do that. When they don't make a mess of it, they build you nice wide honey frames, which means you're getting more honey per unit frame. So we'll uncap this one as well. We'll put it in the spinner, and we'll show you how the honey comes out. Okay, so here we go, spinning the honey round and round. Round and round she goes, where she stops on the nose. See, this is kind of a simple spinner, and it's going to do fine if it's in balance. If it's horribly out of balance, you see how it's wanting to wobble. Of course, it'll want to wobble more. So you got to make sure you put the frames in equally. What I do is I run them on both sides in both directions, and I flip the frames around after you're done. And you can see here, let me just show you this. If you look down the side, is where you'll see the honey flying out up against the side of the container. You see that? And then it just rolls down the bottom, slides down the bottom, and you end up with a ton of honey at the bottom, which you then transfer from this thing either directly to your bottles or to another container, which is what I do. I transfer it to another container through that waste gate or that spigot, whatever that thing's called, honey gate. So next step will just be us showing the very satisfying video of pouring it into the bottles, okay? Okay, so we spun all the frames here. It worked out really well. It took me probably an hour and change to do 13 frames. When you have an odd number, what you end up doing is just sticking 2 empty frames in to the one last full frame. And this thing's got yo much honey in it. And now we go from this container, filtering it down into this container. This is just how I do it, right? You can do it any which way. You could just probably bottle it straight out of here, but there's going to be, straight out of here that is, but there's going to be lots of wax cappings, lots of wax chunks in here. And I use this double strainer. It's a medium and fine mesh. 2 separate strainers in one here. And that really is fantastic. That's something I'm really happy with. I tried stuff like cheesecloth and regular strainers and spaghetti strainers, and that investment was really worthwhile, because all you're left with in the end in your honey is just a fine dust of a little bit of wax in the last couple of bottles. So let's open this up and see how she goes. I weighed the I weighed the plastic tank beforehand, so I'll weigh it after we put all the honey in. It's going to take a little while. Just go nice and easy here. And we'll see how much honey we end up getting. I think it should be around at least 30 pounds, but we'll see. I just want to go nice and slow here because I have often messed this part up just by trying to go too fast. And this is where I make a big mess. So I'm going to let this drip all the way out. And then what I'll do is, once this is all done, of course I'll clean this thing out. But I'm actually going to extract a couple more frames. I'm going to go back to the hives and grab a couple of frames from a semi-honey bound hive. And then I let this sit in that tank for at least a day because it really lets it settle. You can see it's kind of a very clear color. I find always my spring honey is very clear, very sweet and flowery and just incredible. So that's what this is looking like. And then let it sit in this tank for a day and then go from that spigot to the bottles, and that's it. Okay, so this is the total haul here. And it's the biggest single haul I've ever had. That was 13 frames of honey. And it's the most this bucket has ever been filled in one go. And I think it's more than the 30 or 40 pounds that I was estimating. The bucket itself weighs 2.4 pounds. Isabel, can you get right in tight on this screen here? Let's see what we got for honey. Wow, 51.6 is it?
Yep.
51.6 pounds. So that's... For 13 frames of honey, that's around 3.7 pounds of honey per medium frame, which is amazing. That's why I draw them out nice and wide. That is a great first haul for early July. So very happy with that. Now the last step is just to bottle it and then we're done. So here's the final product. See if I can do this without spilling much. It is all natural wildflower honey from 40 Honeybee with no additives, no preservatives, just a bunch of loving bees giving up their liquid gold. It's kind of light and it's incredibly flavorful. And I'm very lucky to be able to do it. Almost 50 pounds worth in this first haul. So thanks for joining me at 40 Honeybee. My honeybee just got home.